Hey there, film fans. I am Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right, and to avoid any lazy negativity, as always, we are making this here a drinking game.
I'm gonna need it.
So anytime you say something negative or stupid about a film, we are gonna buzz you. You're gonna hear. There it is.
There it is.
You're gonna hear that sound. That means we're drinking, and we would love it if you at home drank along with us. Just please not from behind the wheel of a car.
Absolutely. If you, don't be listening to this in your car. So pour yourself a glass and give it up for. Well, what are we talking about this time around?
Very good question. Okay, friend. So we just finished a whole Oscars thing for the least popular, most overlooked Oscars of all time. So I'm really glad we donated 4 months of our life to that. But if you want to know about any film that came out that even had a chance of sniffing some gold this past March or April or whatever, you can go ahead through our feed. Please smash that subscribe button wherever you are and go through the feed, and you can see us talking about a whole bunch of movies that maybe you skipped over that might actually be pretty good, and maybe you should give a look. But here we are. We're moving on. We are bringing some old segments back, and we are clarifying / introducing a new segment. So here we go. We are going to be doing new films, which this week we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat, which technically came out about 3 weeks ago from our time, but it is still available on HBOMax for another week. And this is going to get off HBOMax May 24th, 2021. But we're talking about Mortal Kombat as our new movie. Then we are going to introduce our new segment, Should Have Seen It By Now. Should have seen it by now. There's so much stuff on streaming right now. And so we decided the best movie to get us kicked off is going to be Citizen Kane for 2 different reasons that we'll talk about in a second. And then we are not doing this week, but soon, people, soon, we are going to bring back our favorite segment, Was It Really That Bad? Where we take a look at a supposedly bad movie and we, with a drinking game in mind, where we have to say positive shit, we are going to decide, was it really that bad? But before we get off and running on our 2 films this week, let's kick it over to John for some shout outs.
The shout outs, as always, we have a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barroso. You can find him on Instagram at C Barroso Bar 2019. That is CBARROZOBAR 2019. And if you're digging the music on this episode and every single episode, head on over to soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist, and you can download all of the music made by the artist Dasein. That shit is waiting for you. Get on over there and grab it.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to explain what we are going to be doing from now on with the way we're going to cut up our episodes, just in case anyone who's a hardcore listener is a little confused?
Yeah, in case you're teased by me saying 2 films and you're like, what? Dave, why don't I defer to you?
Well, we decided to play it a little differently this time. We're going to release 1 film per episode as such, but we're going to release more episodes. That about sums it up. So you're getting one. You only have to listen to 1 film, and then you get the next film a little later in the week. It's just like we've kept drinking that entire time, so we're a lot drunker for the second show in the week.
And we're gonna put in the episode titles what category it was in. So should have seen it by now. So that way when we talk about Citizen Kane, people don't have to say, "Man, this movie's been around forever. Why the fuck?" And it's like that's the whole point, because a lot of us, including the 3 of us, have never seen Citizen Kane. And the reason we chose that, which I know that's probably not going to be on this episode, but the reason we chose Citizen Kane is because not only was Mank made this past year, won an Oscar, was nominated for a bunch. It was about the screenwriter of Citizen Kane and his relationship with Orson Welles and all of the characters who inspired the characters in the movie Citizen Kane. But also, it is available on HBO Max, and it is no longer the #1 movie of all time, even though it tops the AFI list, which I believe has The Godfather at #2, and then a whole bunch of movies that you probably go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And it was at the top of Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, well, maybe not IMDb, but Paddington 2 has taken over because they unearthed a Chicago Tribune review from 1941, which was not scathing, by the way. It was not scathing. It just wasn't positive. They said that it was a little too dark and spooky and it wasn't entertaining enough. So they decided that Paddington has the better, even though it still has a Metacritic score of 100. So anyway, that was it really that bad? You can really know ahead of time that we're getting into some kooky shit and we're probably going to be a little intoxicated. But we're going to start with our new film, breaking down some new movies, talking about them and having some fun, which of course today is going to be Mortal Kombat. But please bear with us, folks. We've taken a little bit of a break. So before we get into Mortal Kombat, I think we should still go around the horn, do a little catch up on what you've been watching. We'll try to keep it tight, but give the people something to look forward to of what they should be watching at home. Dave, should you start again with that? You want to?
Guys, I watched Tenet.
Oh,
You actually
yeah.
what did you say?
Tenet.
Yeah,
I watched a Tenet button.
I watched
we need
both.
a whole button just to...
I watched both halves of it. It was great. No, it wasn't
Dude.
really. It was like it was average. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh man, no, I completely agree. We'll still wait for Jeff to watch it before we
Okay.
finally give our
Yeah,
the pending review that you've all been waiting for. But
brush up on
Jeff,
your
get on that
thesis.
motherfucker so we can talk about that movie. But did you watch anything else, or did Tenet make you want to stop watching movies? Hey,
Dave saw another movie that he's not allowed to talk about yet.
oh yeah.
I know I'm allowed to talk about it. There was no NDA signed. I got to a
Okay,
sneaky screening of In the Heights.
Excellent.
And I just want to say I was looking forward to this because I love the show, and anyone else who loves the show, you're gonna love this because he basically just took the show and added all the extra things you can add when you're making a movie into it. So they're like, there's almost nothing cut. They're almost like, and it's the performances are all solid, and there's some really funny, like great versions of the characters in there. So
Nice.
yeah, it's going to be a summer hit. I hope, and it really deserves it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
Sweet. All right, John, you want to shout
Awesome.
anything out?
I'm not glad. I haven't watched anything super new recently, but I went hardcore with some 90s thrillers while we were gone. I had a couple family members visiting
that
me,
too.
one of which is a fellow actor from the UK, my brother-in-law, and he has got a huge fanboy love for Tony Scott movies. So we went deep for the good old Denzel Washington Tony Scott relationship. We watched Deja Vu, Safe House, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. That was fun. And I wish I would have held off on watching this one because I had never seen The Pelican Brief. Pretty famous one. Maybe that would have made it to our list. But sorry, guys, I went ahead and I rocked it. That was fun. Anyway, I've been watching a lot of 90s thrillers, political thrillers. I can't get enough. How about you? What are you watching, Jeff?
I watched two things. So I loved Broadchurch this past fall. I was like Chloe and I like watching.
Fuck yeah,
was our
dude.
show.
So good.
And so we were recommended Happy Valley, which is a slightly grittier British crime show. I love Marcella too. Marcella's great, but this is in that world, I suppose, but a little grittier. It is available for rent on Amazon. It is no longer free for streaming. Netflix had it from 2014 and 2020, and it's gone. But Happy Valley was cool. And I started as my like cooking show, the show that you don't have to necessarily keep your eyes on the screen. The Sons of Sam documentary is really interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah, New York City in the 70s was a nasty place to be. Even worse when a death cult is killing people for no reason.
Yeah, New York
sounds
City
good.
in the
I would like to
70s
watch
is like LA in the 90s.
What's funny?
Oh boy.
People are like,
I
greatest
did-
city on earth. And I was like, did you ever hear about the 70s here?
I did start Mayor of Easttown, you guys. That show with Kate Winslet.
yeah. What do you think?
I think is there 4 parts, I believe. I've watched 2 so far. Pretty good. I'm going to keep going. I don't know if either of you had seen that. No,
I watched. I started Jupiter's Legacy,
Nice.
which is
cool.
basically The Boys Light.
Okay.
Well, speaking
Okay.
of the boys, we should get into our segment here on Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
I feel like the writers of Mortal
What he
Kombat
said.
definitely saw the boys. You know what I mean? That like dark video game, but like we also want it to be kind of funny and satirical, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of tone. We'll talk about it. We're talking about Mortal Kombat, people. You probably knew it was a huge success when it came out this year, and it was a part of that Warner Brothers announcement where they are going to dump all of their movies onto HBOMax the same day they come out, possibly with the exception of Dune. Did we figure that out?
Yeah, they're holding off on that one.
Yeah. So Warner Brothers, all their movies are coming out on HBO Max for a limited 31-day run, the same day that they come out in theaters. And Mortal Kombat was one of those, but it still did very well in the international box office. So guess what? It is based on the video game Mortal Kombat and all of the million Mortal Kombats that followed. The short plot is MMA fighter Cole Young seeks out Earth's greatest champions in order to stand against the enemies of Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe.
I love you use the word short plot. Is there a long plot?
There,
Ooh.
yeah, there.
It's
You know
coming
what?
out
There,
swinging.
there is, but it's like a Wikipedia plot. So I guess let's just leave it at that. It's sort of like, how do we get all these characters here in the Earth realm, and how do we make it this weird tournament with, you know, extraterrestrial beings fighting with Earthlings for the right to control Earth, and somehow it's all related to this one tournament. Whoever wins this single hand-to-hand combat gets the control of fucking Earth realm, something like that. Anyway, so that's sort of what this movie's about. It's fun, it's kooky, you got some weird deaths going on in there. Who wants to go first with their now? So John's seen this movie a lot, and he scabbed on us. He went onto a different podcast that talk about this movie, so he's got it all in the back pocket. So should we wait on you? Should we get initial reactions?
Let me just say that really quickly, just to throw them some love, because I want to have them on our show soon as well. I was lucky enough to be invited onto the Matt and Mark movie show. It's a podcast. It's available on all the platforms with Matt Gilbert and Mark Monstrowski. And basically, we talked about it. They have a fun time. I definitely recommend giving their pod a listen. They're definitely going to be on our show. I did learn some things that just got clarified on there, because I am not a hardcore gamer. I think Dave has maybe gamed. Have you played the Mortal Kombat games? Some?
Only 1 and 2.
A lot.
Only 1 and 2.
That's what I feel like. I feel like a lot of people around our age say that. I don't think a lot of us kept going, but this video game was a fucking phenom.
Oh
when
yeah,
it came out, right? The first one like changed everything. I said on their show, I'm going to say it again on this one. My memories of Mortal Kombat, the video game, were basically one of the kids in my neighborhood would get it, and we would play it until that parent saw it and then kicked it out and made us stop. And then another kid would get it, and we would go to their house until their parents made us stop. So it didn't last very long. But then the movies came out, and
I could just see it. Your 6-year-olds in the living room, you hear the word fatality. You're like, no.
Oh god, yeah, because they're trying to turn the volume down so mom doesn't hear it. I mean, exactly, dude. Finish him.
Yeah.
Finish him.
Animality. What the hell's going on in there?
But yeah, Jeff, I do agree with you. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'll hold off to kind of chit chat. I did learn some crap. I just want to hear what you guys think about it first, though, because I've already talked about this thing a lot.
Dave?
Anybody? Dave?
First of all, this was shot in and around my college town in Australia, in Adelaide, Australia. Yeah,
cool.
shout out for
Yeah,
Adelaide. Good work. There used to be a dirt car park. I did a couple of shows in the theater down there, and it would put an off-Broadway theater to shame, this thing. It was tiny, things fell out of the roof occasionally, but it had this dirt car park, and I'm pretty sure the dirt car park now.
Theater to shame.
Yeah.
Sorry, we don't have things falling from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Unless it's rats and asbestos.
Yeah, those.
But the car park is now a massive visual effects campus. So I left town, and they suddenly made it this cool things that I could have stayed for and done all kinds of cool things. Fuck Adelaide. No,
don't go back.
Good on them. So yeah, I've got a little bit of a soft spot for this, and I did love the original Mortal Kombat. I watched it so many times.
Me too, dude.
I was a fan of getting the shit kicked out of me in the games. I didn't have the bandwidth to learn all the fatality combos.
I was such a button masher. I just mashed buttons and hope something came out.
Oh no!
But I will say, going into this one, I think a lot of people, and it got a little bit of negative press, but I think a lot of people had very, very high expectations.
Why?
As everyone does.
Why did they have that?
Because it was like R-rated. And they're like, finally, we're gonna get the fatalities the first one should have had. And
I got it, Game of Thrones, but Mortal Kombat. No,
yeah,
people,
and they went in with these ridiculously high expectations as usual, and it wasn't there. And I think a lot of people maybe gave it a bum rap about that. I didn't mind this. It was as campy as the first one, as almost. It took itself a little more seriously.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I really everyone criticized it for not having the tournament in it, and I was like, I feel like that was a great idea. The tournament's been done to death. It's like doing Spider-Man's origin story. No, we skipped that.
Well, do you think though to level a little bit, because I'm with you. I side with you versus your friends who suck. But do you think though, because they mentioned the tournament, they're like, all the champions meet in a tournament. So they pitched the tournament, and then it didn't happen. So it's not just like they didn't do the tournament, which is what the game was.
If you don't know the plot of Mortal Kombat by now, this movie, you're not buying a ticket to go see this movie.
I didn't know the plot. And
But
Mortal Kombat. And I wouldn't have seen this movie without the podcast.
The best part of it is
shout out to Enter the Dragon, which we talked about last year, you guys, and we kind of were joking about how that iconic Bruce Lee film basically laid the foundation for all kick-ass martial arts films.
Yes.
Throne of Blood, not Throne of Blood, excuse me.
Hollywood.
Blood,
We should say
Blood
it like
Sport,
Hollywood films, because I'm
The
sure
Quest,
there are plenty of martial arts movies that.
Sure. But like a lot of the classic Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, Mortal Kombat. So we've seen that so many times. So Dave, I also, let's just put a caveat out there. I think all of us enjoyed watching this movie because we had realistic expectations. I had a really fun time. So anything that we say critically, if you actually took this seriously and you actually didn't like it, go fuck yourself. Like, what did you think you were about to see?
Yeah,
I mean, this was a fun time.
Honestly, complaining about plot holes in a Mortal Kombat movie is like questioning the quantum theory of hot tub time machine.
Yeah, come on.
It's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Which really
you know what you're getting. They had some fun with it. I want to tell you, the Kano has changed my opinion of Australians in movies.
Oh my God.
There's a meme going around on the internet now about how he's been hospitalized with his back out for carrying that movie, and they're not half wrong, but he didn't so much carry it, he elevated it more than what it should be.
Dude, was incredible.
My favorite line is anything that came out of that guy's fucking mouth. In that whole movie,
every line. Hello, Gandalf. When he calls Raiden Gandalf.
Yeah, he calls Raiden Gandalf. But that, I love that he. Yeah, I had to restart this movie because I watched it once and I was like, I'm not really in the mood for this. Like, I'm being hard on this, and then the second time I watched it, I was good to go. But the line he gives, where you could tell the actors, there's some lines where you're like, maybe this is funny on the page and I don't need to do anything with it, and then there's some lines where you circle and you're like, I need to go all in on this. And his line is like, Kano, what? And he goes, K, no, none of your fucking business. And the way he shouts, K, no, none of your fucking business. He's making fun of his own name. He's turning into this. It's like...
no, I think my favorite one is, you know where this is? Yeah. Have you got a pen? You want to write this down? Get fucked.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, honestly,
you kidnapped me. You did this. You did yeah. Stay there. I was going to go for a fucking stroll, but yeah. Yeah, it's
one of the only real tragedies of this movie. One of my only legitimate critiques is that, spoiler alert, he gets killed, and you're just like, oh no, there goes the greatest character. I was hoping they were going to bring him back if they were going to do more movies. It's fucking funny.
It's Mortal Kombat. Yeah, they might.
You know what his we'll talk about the Arcana in a second, I guess. But when he finds his Arcana, do you know what it reminded me of? Do you guys ever see This Is the End with Seth Rogen and James Franco? And all that?
Oh yeah.
Remember when James Franco dies and he's going to heaven and he realizes he's going to heaven and he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to heaven. Fuck you guys, fuck you." And then finally they just cut him off from going to heaven, and then he falls back down to the earth. That's when Kano gets his Arcana. That's kind of what it felt like. He's like, "Oh, I actually get one of these things."
Of course, I'm the first one to get it.
Yeah, but like, there's so much other good stuff. Like, it lets you know it's R-rated right off the bat. There's like heads and arms and stunts flying everywhere in the first 5 minutes of this thing. Like, it doesn't ease you in. There's a killing spree in the first 5 minutes of this thing.
You guys,
how
excellent is that opening introduction?
I wrote down my note that I stopped taking notes was, this is really touching. Like, it opens in the 1600s.
This is like a Criterion martial arts opening.
It is so touching. It's a clearly like a warrior and a badass wife raising two kids in the middle of the woods, loving each other. There is a death where the sword, you're on the inside and you know there's fighting outside, and the sword kills a guy through one of like the paper doors from way back then, and then just slides up with like blood gushing out. So all you see is the blood and the sword. Like, brilliant stuff. And then
that is the first gore in the movie too.
Yeah, it sets the tone.
Yeah, it's like
all of the killing for the rest of the movie. It's like, oh my god, it's really good, and really, really good stuff.
And again, spoiler alert. Let's just go ahead and talk about it, because again, I really had a fun time. But I think some of the critiques that people have been talking about are maybe related to the fact that this opening is so strong. Everybody who played this game fucking loves Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I know if you're looking at the poster of this movie, or if you saw it, pitched to you on HBOMax or whatever, you clearly see it's probably going to have something to do with these two characters, but they do not shy away from it at all. The opening is taking those two characters back to this incredible, legendary, centuries ago feud, because they both belong to two different martial arts clans from China and Japan, and they just fucking go for it. So again, we might a little bit later talk about if that got fleshed out well enough for you guys, but I so respected how grounded this opening was. I think some people may have missed some of the campiness and the cheese of the regular 95 Mortal Kombat, or perhaps for the hardcore fans, Mortal Kombat Annihilation from 97 or 99, whenever that thing came out. But you know what? I thought they opened this movie correctly.
Yeah.
So let me pose this next question to you though. Does Cole Young, the character who ends up being the main protagonist, does he work for you in this movie as a whole, and or just as our vehicle? They made up this character, Cole Young. He's not in the video games. And again, I didn't play the game, so it didn't really throw me. I thought I had just missed Cole Young in Mortal Kombat 3 and 4, maybe in the video games. But clarifying, talking with these guys, doing a little research, he's not there. Did that work for you guys, or did it piss you off?
It worked for me, and I'll tell you why. Because they're lining up a franchise here. They want this to keep going, obviously, because of the way it ends. Where they tease a major character from the game. But the fact that he's the central pivot now means that they can go forward or backwards.
Good stuff.
That's true. Yeah. Good call.
So because they've got a character that's not locked into a time period in the game and doesn't have a set thing with anything, they can go anywhere from this point. They can do prequels, they can do sequels, they can bounce
That's
everywhere.
well said. We didn't touch on that when we were talking about. That's good.
Well, so the opening is so shameless in the fact that Sub-Zero comes and they introduce the magic of Sub-Zero being able to turn things to ice very slowly. Honestly, very similar to the way a Marvel movie would do that, where they wouldn't just.
It looks
throw
painful
fireballs.
too.
Like,
it looks painful.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really, really well done. And then you find out pretty quickly that Sub-Zero is trying to end the Hanzo bloodline, and you know immediately because you've seen movies, the bloodline's not going to end. You know that in the opening, and it's great.
Yeah.
So then when the sequence ends and you flash forward and you see this kind of like bad MMA fighter in the future, and it's like, oh, this guy's got some work to do if he's going to save Earth. You can lay it all out and it's all good and it's shameless. I think it's not helpful to him that all of the lines from the time he's introduced up until when Sub-Zero kind of comes after him, there are those movie lines that seem like they were written in a lab. And so that's not helpful for him. Well, it's all plot. Who's going to be in the corner with you? And then he looks at a girl, which I didn't even know was his daughter, by the way. So that's on the actor, because I was like, is that a niece? Like, I didn't feel the fatherly love, but that's just whatever. That's my own thing. Okay, touche.
I let you
and then
roll
he points
a
to
little.
the girl and he's like, oh, you're fucking hopeless. And then he's, like, it's just kind of, and then Jax comes in and all the lines are just very like studio wrote this script expository. But once you get through it, I think it was a very relatable through line. So I will say yes. However, they ceded a lot of ground to the supporting actors so that it's not like, I can't wait to find out what else happens to him. But it was a safe, good through line. If that makes sense.
I will tell you one thing. Like I would have made one big edit change to the beginning, which is like you go through that whole opening fight, and then from that fight in the movie they cut straight to his fight that he loses. I would have actually done it the other way around and gone from the opening fight where Sub-Zero is walking away, morph into modern Sub-Zero, do the Outworld scene, have them say go and kill the people, like the contestants, and then go to that fight. And I feel like that would have flowed better at the beginning, but that's a valid critique that I think.
It did kind of feel like they wanted to have like a true separate opening. Like I wanted it to be like this standalone thing.
And I just felt like the Outworld, when it went Outworld, I was like, oh, okay, we're in Outworld. Shit.
It was a little jolty. So I will say again, that caveat stands true. I had a fun time, and I'm not taking any of this super seriously. But putting that hat off to the side, I do think that opening, as we're going to talk about in the next episode, Citizen Kane, I do think really good movies teach you how to watch them by the opening. We talked about this before. The exposition, the opening scenes will kind of teach you the cinematic language that you're going to need to like watch the rest of this movie. And I do think this movie, it doesn't abandon it. It's not that dramatic, but some things are not quite as clean. And
it lets the air out of the tires a couple times.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so, big time. And I think one of the largest things that did frustrate me just a little bit, just because I was fanning out and I kind of wanted this to happen. It's not that it's a terrible choice. I just wanted this to happen. I think they planted a lot of seeds.
Yeah.
That Cole Young, excuse me, was going to become Scorpion. And I think they kept showing these flashbacky things. I thought he was going to at least maybe not literally be Scorpion, but have something more directly to do with Hanzo being in his lineage. And I think that it frustrated me just a little bit that as the movie went along, the typical things and like obstacles that happen to protagonists didn't happen to him. So I was already getting a little confused, even though Goro, we can talk about that. He came out of nowhere and they had this kick-ass fight scene and big ass, CGI.
That was definitely fan service.
Definitely fan service. But
good
Cole
fan
Young
service.
Doesn't really lose anybody. Typically, your protagonist is going to lose someone. They're going to be going against the odds. A lot of our favorite superheroes in that, this video game superhero world, they're going to be having had this terrible trauma in their past. Look, we know Cole Young was an orphan, but we really don't explore that at all. And he doesn't talk about it the way Batman does. So they don't remove any of his obstacles. So
what, you mean like this?
I was already a little confused why he was being put front and center. But Dave, you both have made good points that maybe they have created a way to pivot around his character if they choose to go forward or back or wherever the point of view is going to be. But I did feel like they were teaching me to expect him to be somehow a part of Scorpion's tale. And I think they abandoned that completely. And they said, no,
I picked up
back at the very
the
end.
the second he got that blade, like the gardening tool, and used it with the rope, I was like, that's fucking Scorpion. Like
of course, but the guy's in hell, after that, I thought he was, and Cole kept having like these weird flashy things where he would see like a quick shot of Hanzo in hell and stuff. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I just didn't know if that frustrated you guys, if you thought that, because as the movie continues, whether or not you agree with the fact that having all of the Mortal Kombat fights outside of Mortal Kombat worked, I think you're still kind of following Cole Young's story. And it builds to this huge fight between Scorpion literally just comes back from hell. He just walks out of the gateways of hell, and they have a kick-ass frozen fight with Sub-Zero.
By that point, you are on the edge of your seat waiting for, get over here. Like, okay, it's like, come on.
Wait, I have a
You're like, yeah, he said the thing.
He said it.
I know we all had fun, but in all seriousness, did the fact that the characters said the awesome lines from the video games, most of them kind of said it like as afterthoughts or offhand, get over here was good, but there were a lot of like fatality, like just kind of like said by a character. Was that a little ridiculous for you guys, or were you happy that they did that and didn't try to do anything else too clever?
So it goes along. I feel like they're writing this line of, which again, I do think if I tip my hat to the 90s movies, I think they knew the exact cheesy, campy tone that the video game fans were kind of expecting. And this one did try to take itself a little more seriously. So honestly, man, there were some times in this movie where I felt like, I think I'm on board with the tone they're creating and it's working. And then there were some moments like that and some other things like that I'm not quite sure if they broke their own rules or not. Now, ultimately, it didn't really bother me, but I know what you're saying. And I think ultimately that I do agree with you. I think they broke the rules a little bit with tone, and it kept starting. It just waffled more and more as the movie went on.
Anyway, let's have fun talking about this movie now, because there's some fun shit in there. What about the
How
battles?
good was that fatality with her, dude? Her fatality when the fucking hat splits her fucking in half.
Yeah, as far as first fatalities, like that's a fucking doozy. I mean, I don't think they ever topped it.
Dude.
Like
the first one.
That was awesome.
At the end with the I just wrote down the wing lady.
Yeah, if your mom's walking through the room when that happens, she's gonna be like, "Oh, what the fuck." Like, that's going off.
I liked Liu Kang. Really, I liked him too. I thought that guy did an awesome job. He like kind of introduces our main characters to this temple they've been hearing about, but they've never been. So there's this weird like mysticism quality. Like we don't know if we're going to be jumping realms. We don't know if it's just going to be like the Matrix where he's inputting shit into his. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it's to expect. And I thought Liu Kang was a really good surrogate for that. And then to have like the best friend who you knew was probably his days were probably numbered, but Kung Lao too. Like the two of them, I thought they did a good job.
I thought they were great too. I think a lot of the acting, let's just tip our hats to them, dude. I think a lot of the acting was great. Again, you might be attached to some of the casting from the 90s if you like some of those characters, but I enjoyed seeing everybody do this thing. Dave, I wanted to bring this up to you because I learned this from Matt and Mark. The guy who plays Cole Young, Louis Tan, was up for Iron Fist. It was between him and the guy they did cast as Iron Fist.
I bet they wish they went the other way now.
Yep, honestly, I think everyone who watched that show, it got a lot of heat. Maybe you did like it, but I think a lot of people had issues with it.
Yeah.
I think this guy would have done a great job. I don't know if that's why, but I liked him as Cole Young, despite what I said earlier about the character.
The other two guys, like Liu Kang and his cousin.
Kung Lao.
Yeah.
Kung Lao.
I'm pretty sure they're the two guys they were talking about in the article I was reading. They're actually former members of Jackie Chan's stunt team.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. They're young too, but yeah.
Yeah.
They are young. His name is Max Huang. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Max Huang. Yeah. I thought the women were great. Did you guys like Sonya Blade? Yeah. Jessica McNamee?
Once or twice. So I was like, yeah, but most of the time, yeah. All right.
I wrote that at one point. I said Sonya Blade with the exposition because there was one. She had one of those lines. It's like, I've known forever since I was a little girl that there's a Mortal Kombat and it's a temple in the middle of nowhere, and then all the masters. So she had like one of those exposition lines. It's like, well, sometimes you just got to do it. You got to say it. But I thought she did a fine job. She was fine.
Yeah, I
like Jax too, because I felt like they wrote that to just be your like huge army guy. Like that trope was like written in. I thought he did a really good job grounding it and making it relatable. I thought he did a good job.
I think so too. And the guy who plays
I feel like they used Raiden really
Shang
well.
Tsung.
Yeah, Raiden was awesome. Every time he always started with his head down, so that when he lifted his head and the hat came out, you saw the eyes. You saw the white eyes. That was cool.
Yeah. So did it frustrate you guys that they were fighting outside of the ultimate premise of this movie for all the listeners who haven't seen it yet is that Shang Tsung, basically breaks the rules as he always does in these movies. He breaks the rules and he just brings his cohort from Outworld, into Raiden's temple. And, even though Raiden tries to put up some kind of force field to try to protect them from ultimately taking over the world, they still basically just have their fights outside of the tournament.
Yeah. They make the bold choice of not having the tournament in a Mortal Kombat film. And I dug it. I was like, that's great. We're already 9 in.
I thought it was fine.
And it's like, let's make the sideways choice of not having a tournament. Surprise, the bad guy's fucking cheating.
Yeah. It was cool because it was very clearly cheating.
To your point where you said earlier backward, I think they have now earned to take us backward or forward to previous tournaments, maybe a tournament in the future, hopefully previous. I think that'd be kick-ass to go back in time and do a period piece. Because now that they've seen okay, we've built to this point where they tried to break the rules. If they wanted to, if this franchise goes on and on and on, they can just every now and then have them do this where they break the rules to just break up the plot.
It's established that he's cheated like crazy the whole way through.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, yeah.
I want them to Ragnarok it. Do you think they would do that? Not with Kano necessarily, but do you think they would just go let's just turn the tone on its head, and then we'll get back to this tone into some kind of linear, whether it's backward or forward, sequel or prequel. I don't know. There's a lot that they can do. There's a lot they could do. They can franchise the shit out of this.
Yeah,
I think they can do whatever the fuck they want.
And the response to it wasn't too bad, so we'll probably get another one. I hope we get another one. This was pretty good.
There's some really fun deaths in here.
For sure. Yeah. If this had come out in the theaters, you guys, and people weren't sitting at home by themselves, with their grievances on social media, just griping and trying to just, get some hits and likes on their fucking negative comments. I think this would have done fine in the theater. We would have gone to see it for sure. Mm-hmm. And anyone who likes this kind of movie, I would have said, fuck yeah, go see it. Go see it in Dolby. Have fun.
Yeah.
Especially in cities. I mean, I've gone to bars on fight night by accident before on MMA nights, and people get tapped in the neck, and everybody's like, oh, I can only imagine Friday night of this movie in a packed theater when the hat death with the wing lady. I could just imagine the people shouting and screaming.
You've got your horror crowd and you've got your action movie crowd, and this is the best of both worlds joined together, because you've got serious stunt choreography and fighting and that sort of thing, and then these awesome fatalities thrown in for good measure.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
those
And I would
fatalities
still
were awesome.
wager if we had all these people on our fucking show, anyone who said something negative, these are people who took a chance on a movie called Mortal Kombat that came out in 2021. I bet if we actually asked them and they had to actually say it, they'd be like, yeah, of course I was giving it a hard time. I had fun. Of course, I think they would actually walk it back and just say, yeah, I was just being a dick. I was just trying to
Yeah.
make a critical point.
I mean, I challenge
So
anyone
if you
to
like
watch
this kind
again.
of movie, watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will watch this again. Yeah, at some
All
point in the
Also,
future, I'm
get
going to add it to
intoxicated
my Mortal
first.
Kombat.
Get intoxicated
Yeah.
first and watch
Have some
this.
friends over. You can now.
All right. Well, thank
Sure.
you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Get your
So glad-
vaccine. Have some friends over. Watch Mortal Kombat.
So glad to be talking about fun new movies, people. So check out, we're going to be doing our should have seen it by now, Citizen Kane. Smash that subscribe. We got a lot of new stuff coming for you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Anything before we send the people on their way?
Only Mortal Kombat.
Do. They snuck that into the end theme too.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Anyone who can hear that shout and not immediately follow it with that, is just like 18. But
All right. Well, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.